Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to try and use up some of my book pages. I have a bunch of these because I created a junk journal from an old book, and if you've ever done that, then you probably have one of these book innards, which is just a huge stack of paper that used to be inside of the book. So I want to try and use up some of these pages today to create some envelopes. So to take the pages out of the book stack, I just use an X-Acto knife and I just run it down the edge, and the page should come right out. And then if I want to straighten up that edge, I'll just trim it out with a paper trimmer. So I've got a couple of these pages now, and so I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to create an envelope using these pages. So we're going to start off with a really basic pocket design. We're going to fold in the two sides of the page so that they meet in the middle. Personally, I don't want the header of the page to show, so I'm just going to trim that off. That way, when you look at the front of the pocket, you'll only see the main text from the book page. You'll want to fold the two sides together so they overlap slightly. Next, we want to create the top flap of the envelope, so we're just going to cut off a triangle from each of the top corners. You can use the first triangle that you cut out as a guide for cutting the second triangle if you care about making them the same size. Now we're going to open up the book page and we're going to trim away the top section from the left and right pieces that we folded over. This will create the opening flap of the envelope. Then we're going to do essentially the same thing to the bottom of the envelope. So again, we're going to cut away two triangles from the corners, and then we're going to create a bottom flap. Now we can apply glue to the center where the two flaps are overlapping. And we can also apply glue to the bottom flap to seal it closed. And now we have the first completed envelope. The second envelope is similar to the first one, but we're going to create a crisscross pocket. You will need to fold the book page into thirds, which means it will be a little bit smaller, so I decided to use a slightly larger book page for this one. Once I have my page folded into thirds, I'm going to again cut away triangles from the top of the book page. So now we're going to trim the left and right sections again, but this time we're going to want to cut along a downwards diagonal, and this is going to create the crisscross shape. Once you've cut out both sides, your paper should be a symmetrical shape. Now we want to seal the bottom of the envelope closed, and I'm going to use the same method that I did in the basic envelope to create that bottom flap. And that is the shape that we want for this envelope. I'm not gluing it together yet because I'm going to add some decoration to it later on. Moving on to the third envelope. For this one, we're actually going to fold the book page in half, but we want to keep a little bit of overhang, and that is going to be the flap that we use to seal it closed on that side. This one is kind of similar to the crisscross pocket, but instead of having two diagonals, we're just going to have one. So here I'm just trimming away that diagonal from the front side of the pocket. Next, we're going to cut away a piece from the bottom of the back side of the envelope. This will allow us to fold the bottom flap backwards so that it's hidden. You could also do the same method that I did in the first two envelopes, but I wanted to show you an alternative method if you want the bottom flap to be hidden. And now I'm just folding over those two flaps, and I did end up trimming away that corner piece so that it would lie flat. For the final envelope, this is going to be very similar to the first envelope that I showed you, but we're also going to be adding an envelope closure. I did make sure to leave enough space on the top flap so that we have enough room for that closure. Then I punched out two small holes where I'm going to be adding the closures. To create the actual pieces for the closure, I just cut out two circles from a piece of craft paper. If you have a circle punch, this will probably be easier, but I just used a circular cap to trace out the shape. Next, I'm going to punch a hole through the center of one of these circles. I'm going to use an eyelet to attach this circular piece to my envelope, but I want to make sure that there's enough space for a piece of string in between, so I'm attaching a piece of string and taping it into place, and then I'm going to set everything using my eyelet setter. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other piece, which I'm attaching in the middle of the envelope. And finally, I am attaching a piece of string to the top closure, and the string will be used to wrap around those two little closures that we created. And now we can glue everything together. So here we have the 4 different envelopes that we created in this video. Before we finish gluing these 2 envelopes, I did want to add some decoration using some floral napkins, so I'm going to be doing that now. For the diagonal envelope, I decided to use this purple and pink floral napkin, and I'm gluing that to the back side of the envelope. To remove the extra layers of the napkin, I used a little piece of tape to peel them off, and that way we'll just have that transparent layer on top, and we get that really nice effect of being able to see the book page behind the decorative napkin. For the crisscross envelope, I'm decorating it with this sort of botanical garden themed napkin. I tried to be strategic in choosing which part of the napkin to display when I'm gluing it down. So I tried to choose a more yellow part of the napkin to display on the left flap, and then on the right one I tried to pick a more purpley flower to display over there. I'm not sure if I was totally successful in that because the purple side did end up getting covered up mostly by the other one, but I still like the way that it turned out. I did want to point out that you have a couple of options for how you glue this all together. If you don't want that bottom flap to be visible, you could glue it down in between the 2 flaps, and that way you won't see it. But personally, I did want to show that bottom flap, so I just glued that on top of the other 2 flaps. So I'm really liking how these envelopes turned out, and now they're ready to be added into my junk journal. So I'm just flipping through and looking for a page where I can add one of these envelopes, and I ended up deciding to add in my basic envelope onto this pink page. Once I knew what page in my junk journal I would be adding this envelope to, I would be able to decorate it a little bit better so that it matches in with the theme of that page. So since I picked out a pink page, I decided to use this pink floral washi tape, and then I decorated with this little fashion girl sticker, and I added some text stickers around it to decorate. And I did feel like I was adding in a lot of black colors on that side, so I decided to accent that by adding in some black washi tape. I have this really wide black washi tape, so I just ripped off a bunch of pieces of that, and I just placed it randomly on the left side of the page, and that way I feel like it's pulling in some of that darker color since the base page is pretty light already. I hope this video gave you some ideas for using up your book pages and creating envelopes. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.